Commissioner Withers. In January of 2011, the state of South Carolina will inaugurate a new governor. We have a series of candidates this year, but the two major candidates are with us today. Both good friends. We're honored to have them both in alphabetical order. I would introduce the first one to you. This is a lady who I sit on the 4th row in the House. She sits immediately to my left on the 3rd row. I don't think there's anyone who knows the back of her head better than I do. It's my pleasure to have known our candidate. She is a distinguished lady, a business lady, an accountant, and was very, very successful in the recent primary season. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the Republican candidate for governor of South Carolina, Representative Nikki Haley.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here, and regardless of which sign you're holding up, and regardless of which party you are supporting, can we all say we're having fun in Little Mountain? You know, I'll tell you, the one thing that we've always tried to do is to get people to know the power of their voice. In the last 6 years, I've tried to do that. I was born and raised in the small town of Bamberg, of immigrant parents that reminded us every day how blessed we were to live in this country. They loved the fact that you could start something, build it as much as you wanted, be as successful as you wanted to be, and nothing was going to get in your way. They started a business out of the living room of our home, and 30 plus years later, it was a multi-million-dollar company. But the one thing I can tell you is there was never a day that it was easy. There was never a day that we didn't look at yesterday and say, what could we have done better? Or look at tomorrow and say, how are we going to make it? I started doing the books, the accounting, the payroll for them when I was 13. It wasn't until I got to Clemson that I realized that wasn't normal. But what I can tell you now is they never wanted me to know limitations. They didn't want me to know the limitations of age. They didn't want me to know the limitations of gender. And they didn't want me to know the limitations of being Indian. They said, whatever you do, be great at it and make sure that people remember you for it. Went on to Clemson, met my husband my very first weekend here. He sends his regards. He's on guard duty this weekend, so he couldn't be here. And turned around and went and worked for a corporation in Charlotte, and then I came back home to the family business. The one thing we noticed in our family business, time and time again, was how hard it was to make a dollar and how easy it was for government to take it. It is time that we've got to change things in South Carolina, and I will tell you this by telling you a story. We started to see more and more votes crossing the desk being passed by a voice vote. Legislators weren't putting their name with their vote. And every time as an accountant I saw those votes crossing the desk, those were dollar signs. We were growing government, and you had no way of holding your legislators accountable. But at one day it came to light when there was a bill that dealt with the cost of living increases for state employees and retirees. At the last minute, a legislator slipped an amendment that would give legislators retirement perks. Not uncommon, but instead it was read across the desk, passed overwhelmingly by a voice vote, and to this day you cannot find one legislator that says they voted themselves a pay raise. I got very upset, and the next day I said anything important enough to be debated on the floor of the House or the Senate is important enough for you to know how your legislator voted. There was a report that came out that year. Of all the bills passed in the South Carolina House, only 8% were on the record. Of all the bills passed in the South Carolina Senate, only 1% was on the record. So my question to you is, if you didn't know how your House member voted 92% of the time, if you didn't know how your senator voted 99% of the time, how'd you know who to vote for when it was time to go to the polls? I went to the legislature and I said, we should do this. This will make us accountable. The people will trust us again. And the legislature said, put the bill away. We don't need to have it. We will decide what the public needs to see and what we don't. The good news is this past year we passed overwhelmingly rules in both the House and Senate that now give us an unprecedented number of votes on the record. I would like to thank my colleagues in the House who voted to make sure that every single bill would have to vote on the record and become permanent law. And I would ask you to contact your senators and let them know that we won't stop, because they seem to think it is unconstitutional for you to know how they vote. And so we need to push to make sure that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to make sure we bring accountability in government. We need to make sure that every single vote is on the record. We need term limits in the state of South Carolina from the local level all the way up so that we have fresh faces, fresh voices, and fresh ideas working for the people of this state and not the power of the legislature. We need to know the sources of income of our legislators so we know exactly who is paying them, so that they start to move policy in the state of South Carolina that helps the people of this state and not the wallets of the legislators who are doing that. My opponent's going to get up here today and he's going to talk to you a whole lot about Mark Sanford. He's going to talk to you a whole lot about the last 8 years. What I want you to remind him is that Nikki Haley's the one on the ballot this year. And Nikki Haley's going to fight for accountability in government. We're going to fight for voting on the record, which he did not fight to make sure happen. We're going to turn around and make sure that they know illegal immigration is not allowed in this state. We are going to fight it all the way through so that we know exactly who is in this state and that we are here legally. We are going to make sure we know sources of income instead of hiding what a trial lawyer makes. We're going to find out exactly who's paying him so that he's not making money off the state and knows what conflicts of interest are. And we are going to turn around and know the value of a dollar and say, no, we do not want federal debt. We do not want federal stimulus. We will protect our people in this state. We will protect our dollars and know exactly how much we're spending and how we're going to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, join the movement. This is about returning the voices back to the power of the people. Thank you very much, and God bless you.